Hello, everybody. This is my cat, Ari. Say hi, Ari. Oh, that's silly. Cats can't talk. Anyway, this morning I thought I would let you join me in my startup procedure because it's changing. As you can see, this, which is my screen 1 for my notes, and this, which is my screen 2 for my Jupyter Lab, now has this in between. Boom, boom. Because my Jupyter Lab is Linux Jupyter Lab. It's no longer a native Windows install. So I need to at least double click this icon once to get, that was 2 Linux boots right there, and after a fresh restart. See how fast that was? It gives you the instructions of where to visit, and it drops you right into a Python virtual environment inside a Linux LXD container inside of WSL. So my first exit, you'll see, actually brings me back up 1 level. That's my host name of my actual laptop there. Here, my host name is the name of the container. So your Ubuntu at Jupyter with all the nice color-coded prompts and virtual envs when you're in the container. When you exit out, it's blah blah into that familiar mount C user's username of Windows Subsystem for Linux, which provides a lot of file interoperability between operating systems. But all you really have to do is X out of that after it's run. And now a double click on Jupyter Lab will bring it up. And this is where I've been developing the work. So I'll do another video that shows the install now because things are a little bit different. First, it has the dark theme, which survives reboots. And second, what else do I want to really show you? Well, anyway, this goes on screen 2 as usual. This is my screen 1. And the second thing, I do know the second thing I want to show you. This, by the way, is a completely different instance of Ubuntu. So it's Ubuntu 20.04 hosting my journal. When I type ALL, it brings up my 2 journals. And I'm going to show you some journal entry work this morning. In fact, I won't even start a new journal entry. We're going to start from the bottom of this one where I will narrate it to you and then read a little bit more that I'm going to copy over from Simple Note. So I'll leave that like that. This is screen 2. So now it's starting to get real familiar again. And of course, screen 3 is a browser, right? So now I'm back to my normal mode of operation with screen 1, 2, and 3 being what they need to be, with the only difference in the process is I need to click this icon to start the Linux servers and the Jupyter Lab server in the background. And now that I have the tab systems always showing in my terminal here, I can show you that there is now a Ubuntu 20.04 that is hosting my journal stuff, and then an 18.04 that I can go into like this. And it's that same prompt as you saw over there in blue, but now coming up over here, it uses a different color profile because I can't stand looking at PowerShell blue all the time. So journal under 20.04 and Linux container system under 18.04. Now, an interesting thing here is that even though we're under 18.04 in WSL, if I were to do LSB release all, you'll see that 18.04, which is working as the container host, is hosting a 20.04 container. So I'm only ever really working on Ubuntu 20.04. 18.04 is only even there because it's easier to get LXD running today under WSL that way. So anyway, that's where I kind of am now. And on my journal, I thought I'd share my journal process with you. I started my morning writing this morning and then realized there was some writing from the other day I wanted to append into this one. So I'm doing some pretty amazing work lately, which you can see implied here. But it's not going to amount to anything. Whoops. If I don't get the word out. So do something really wacky and different and uniquely me on TikTok to get the word out. So I'm going to walk people through it, create an aha moment, release potential already inside them by connecting the dots. If it's about them and not me. Transition from any talk about myself to talk about them and you, the benefit for you, in the same breath, right? Hello, I'm here to teach you magic tricks. I once did this trick and got 1 million views, but it's not my best trick. My best trick is teaching you how to become a modern infotech carpenter to improve your life in countless ways. I came to this conclusion in my late 30s. By my late 40s, I had the tools worked out, Linux, Python, Vim, and Git. And in my 50s, I'm practicing what I preach to great effect, right? I'm realizing the benefits. I got a lot of things right. And I'm not selling anything but the ad bucks I make on the YouTubes and anything people want to send. I'm not going to say no to it because I don't want to be on the hook for anything productized or, promises. I just want to stick to my own genuine ways. And all this YouTubing stuff I do is just a byproduct of keeping sharp for my day job, right? So being an infotech carpenter means mastering certain skills and tool set to be in demand, to love what you do, and to stay flexible in life, right? Being an infotech carpenter doesn't mean any one thing. It's just general technology literacy, I would say, these days. And I'm tempted to call it being an information age samurai, but I'm leaning towards kind and generous. And if you don't know The Walrus and the Carpenter from Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll, you need to know it. The Disney version from Alice in Wonderland isn't bad, but has a slightly different message. The Carpenter gets cheated in the Disney version. The Carpenter gets their share in the Lewis Carroll original version. But they're eating oysters, which has problems too, but we'll address all that stuff later. So what I'm going to do is go into Simple Node. Simple Node is my main way to transfer ideas I've captured from other things like phones and such. And I've got this really long mother of all entries, and lucky you're going to be here to hear me read it. You're also going to see some Vim formatting, so I copied it with the Control-C. It's in my operating system buffer. I'm already in insert mode, which I can see from right here. So now all I have to do is right-click or alt-click or whatever they're calling it these days in the on the trackpad. It gives me this warning. I hit paste anyway. All right, a lot of stuff pasted. Shift-V, escape. Shift-V, smush on the J key to scroll back up. Now, normally it's VIPGQ, but now you can just do GQ. It puts the line wrappings on it that double G to jump to top, Control F to go down a little. And I can see where I left off because of these two spaces. So I'll make that font a little bigger. And on my last Talking Head video, I showed you the best trick on Windows today, how to get an LXD container running. I do this because disruption. APIs change. You learned something today, and all the rules are different tomorrow. It's especially this way on Windows and all proprietary software because their goal is to keep you off balance in buying, right? My goal is to stay on balance and only optionally buy. I mean, I like to buy. I like my new laptops, and this is where Microsoft has an edge right now. Their laptop hardware is really good. Isn't that right, Ari? Oh, it's Linny down there with me. Oh, I can't show you Linny because Linny doesn't like to be picked up like Ari. Knowledge, DGE. My goal is to stay on balance and optionally buy. This is what Linux Python knowledge and know-how lets you do. And now Windows gives you Linux to a point. Microsoft keeps control of the layered on Linux APIs through their Windows subsystem for Linux, thus continuing to lock you into the Windows platform. The WSL.exe program works similar but different to LXD on Linux. They don't want you seeing LXD to make comparisons and ask the scary questions. Well, if I have this, I don't need Windows, right? Our goal is to get around that. We do that through actually activating and using LXD Linux containers on WSL, which Microsoft does not make easy. Enter my now called LXD win script, right? So I'll show you that for a moment, just in case you want to surf around while listening. It is my name, M-I-K-E-L-E-V, put the dot before IN/UX. Mike Levinix, get it? And that's the install script. Copy all. Go to your desktop. right click, new, text document, select all, install.bat, anything with a .bat extension. Would you like to make it useful? Yes, I would. Thank you. Edit, paste, save, file system save just in case, or menu save. APIs, right? Control S versus menu save. These are API issues. And then you would right click and run as administrator. Then you would have my work, my latest work on your system. And maybe I'll show you booting it up how awesome it's become, because there's now graphics. There's Chrome Linux graphics set up for Chrome Automate, but I'll get to that. I cracked that nut the other day, which is to do all this stuff. Specifically showed you how to do it with an easy run script that takes care of all the formidable configuration stuff that's keeping this technique from being all the rage today, right? This would be a really popular thing if it were easy to do, because people would realize its significance. Today, I show you the next step where it's installing enough to run Linux Chrome, Google Chrome on Linux, which is important for my coming Chrome automation for SEO series. Even as my work is discovered through my very limited viewership here on YouTube, it will remain greatly unknown and a secret weapon for those who discover it. So be it. I don't need no stinking million views. Again and again, that is, because I do have a few. The problem is that all this work seems so arcane. The old magic is always the most powerful because it came from before the architectural lockdowns of NT, protection rings, and similar sandbox isolation tech built into everything today that prevents you from owning your own machine. Mickey's Sorcerer's Apprentice shows us the dangers that these vendors are helping save us from. Today's generation will tune out ere even the trick is done. They see no benefit, so the trick of the trick is to tie it back to the benefits to them fast in the first breath. So, to scratch an itch they only kind of sort of know they have. Give them an aha illuminating moment ASAP, tie it to their Jupyter notebook and subsequent six-figure salary and loving what you do experience, right? Step 1, Linux. Step 2, Jupyter notebook. Step 3, love what you do, have six-figure salary, right? Anyone running Jupyter today through Anaconda or Jupyter Desktop, Jupyter Lab Desktop, is missing out big time on their one big opportunity today for a Linux command line experience and some future proofing. It's the perfect opportunity to install Jupyter right and to get on Linux right. Not a Linux desktop, just Linux command line. Remember that thing I opened at the beginning there, which is living over here, which I'm really in right now over here, even though it's a full screen editor. The VI editor makes Linux terminal feel like something different. The Windows you're on today will be obsolete in a year or two. All your APIs belong to them. Why invest yourself there? Linux CLI will never be obsolete. Their APIs resist change for decades on end. You know who's interested in this? Ari's interested in this, aren't you, Ari? Yes, yes. If only we all could rewind. That's our superpowers. Need more reason? The Jupyter you're running today doesn't install with the latest Python, and it's a massive pain to upgrade. Massive pain is a pain to upgrade. Escape VIPGQ. Oh, while I'm at it, ampersand. No, I want to replace those smart quotes, but then I'll lose my pointer position. Although I just edited, so why not? Ampersand, what is it? Q replaces all of those. Save, and hey, I guess it didn't lose the position. No, maybe it's up here. G semicolon. Yeah, because it replaced everything. This is a journal from way back, journal entry from way back. So we'll just go ahead and find my position. Yeah. Right. The Jupyter you're running today doesn't install with the latest Python. It's a massive pain to upgrade. Plus, even after all that, Windows Jupyter doesn't help you enter that super valuable world of server-side automation, which you'd be a hair's breadth away from if you weren't being backslashed all the time. Backslash, 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 right? You know what I'm talking about? Unix has forward slashes. Linux has forward slashes. PowerShell and command prompt have backslashes. Backslash, backslash, backslash. It's the bane of a tech person's existence to have to deal with the backslashes and the corresponding broken and non-standard paths versus, you know, /user/bin stuff, all the standard stuff of Unix/Linux. Jupyter on LXD, on WSL, on Windows runs just as fast or faster than the native Windows Jupyter itself. Don't believe me? Well, you can see me work on it today, but also just wait until Python 3.11 with a 30% performance gain and the difficulty of switching to other Python versions under Anaconda or Jupyter Desktop, who will mostly still be stuck on 3.9. If they're lucky, could be an old Anaconda install. You could be on 6 and grumbling that it's just too hard to upgrade. With Linux Jupyter, you just rerun my install script, which leaves all your existing notebooks and Jupyter configuration and now even your Google Chrome configuration intact. And you can also apt upgrade. There's all kinds of ways. Jupyter Linux offers full integration between the Windows and Linux side, so you can keep managing files how you like, right? You see me in these directory locations, these weird directory locations, but if I go into Explorer and go to my repos, you'll see that you can just manage your same files that you see over here under Jupyter, right? See something familiar here? Boom, boom, boom. Same directory structure. Just make sure I'm recording. It would be a shame to not be getting all this. All right. So, okay. So, if you've installed Jupyter with Anaconda, there's a pesky DOS window that you can't close. You just have to keep it there, minimize it at best. And if you installed Jupyter Lab Desktop, there's a mysterious server component which is only easily accessible through the Windows Settings Apps Add Remove Software interface. You can find it in Task Manager, but even if you do, try viewing its console. Wait, what? Yeah, the way I'm running it here, if you wanted to see the server for this Jupyter, you go into command line. Say we use the same one as here, and you can go you're already logged into it here. I got to remember, I think it's you can do, yeah, I'll show you this way. Screen LS, list your running screens, right? Educate you a little bit, right? So the screen program is actually a terminal server that's running in the background hosting Jupyter Lab server. And you can list screens with screen space minus ls. That's an API. That's the screen program whose API has the -ls argument, parameter, whatever you want to call it. And another thing you can do is you can screen -r for reattach to J, tab, command line completion works. Bam, there's your server, right? If you did something over here, like create a new, I'll go into my practice directory. I do a lot of things in my practice directory. Create a new notebook. Do the Hello World program. For which, for those not familiar, this is the Hello World program in Python and Jupyter. Programming ain't hard. That's why it's literacy. You can actually see what occurred here. You know, it might take some deciphering, but creating new notebook in practice. You can see the server. You could stop the server with a Control-C. You can detach from the server with a Control-AD. I went over that in previous videos. I'll cover it more, but You know, if you do a screen ls, you can see it's still running. You can just close out of this and it has no bearing on this. And in fact, this, because there's a server in the background, changes may not be saved. We'll just save it once. But now you close out of this, you go back into Jupyter Lab. Look how fast that is. It's running with exactly the same state as you left off. Let's see, foo equals hello again. Run it with a shift enter, close out, and I guess we do a save, okay, and then close out, go back in, and we look at the value of foo. It's still there in memory. That's because that server's in the background, right? This is just such a superior way to run Jupyter for so many ways, so many reasons. All right. So even the graphics-oriented capabilities, like non-headless web browser automation, so that you can watch web browser automation as you're working it out, stuff that would have been under Selenium in the past, but is now more often under Puppeteer or Microsoft Playwright, is not only doable, but far, far better, because your finished product is ready to go headless for 24/7 Linux side scheduled running. That's the work I'm doing right now. Today, in fact, it's all done. I'll show it to you as the final thing. For those who've stuck around this far, I'll show you Chrome running. I won't show you the automation yet. I have it working. I've been doing work for my day job, which has been automating under this system, so it's solid. But I'll just show you actually running the Linux version of Google Chrome. So really, once you have this knowledge that I've just imparted on you, to not use it and to not start your gradual baby step path to an obsolescence-resistant future is to say, that you like being at the mercy of vendors. You like the forced upgrades. You like the difficult to manage software. You like the kooky backslash paths, and you like the incompatibility with mainstream development, right? Don't listen to me. Don't install Linux Jupyter. That's basically what you're saying. That's okay. I understand. Fear of new things and growth is a big motivator. However, what I'm proposing is really not a new thing so much as it is a 50-year-old time-tested, battle-worn thing. But I understand Microsoft does do a good job convincing you otherwise. And I don't have their budget or their powers of persuasion to convince you otherwise. So you're stuck and I'm pissing in the wind. My next step is laying out the apt installs and pip installs Windows side, so they're never lost when you rerun my Linux Jupyter install script. That work's already done, right? I have all the requirements for Google Chrome laid out in the apt installs mostly. The pip installs lay out more stuff for the Chrome automation, right? So it's a 1-2 punch. Apt installs under the Debian package manager to get all this graphics library stuff working, and then pip installs to get Puppeteer and other things, Node.js instances going. And I showed you where to find that script, and doing this is totally safe because you don't lose work, you don't lose your configuration, and after this video your second phase installs either, right? I got that done, and the Google Chrome I'm repeating myself now. Fate will try to trip you up at every turn. Things go wrong. There's 1,000 reasons things go wrong, but only 1 or 2 reasons they don't. Only 1 or 2 reasons things go right. Having a guide who's macheted their way through this dense infotech forest infested with vendor jaguars before showing you the way can help. That's what I've done with these scripts. Watching me write this first one, watching me write the script would have bored you silly, as I'm boring you silly now. But believe me, writing and developing and testing these scripts, waiting for that whole install procedure to finish, that would have bored. If this is boring you silly, that would have bored you to death. And it's not easy. I might make it look that way from 30 years of experience. I count the Amiga as part of my Unix Linux scripting experience because it's so similar. So I'm 5 decades old. I'm in my 50s, and I've had about 3 decades, 30 years of practice on this sort of stuff, right? Check out Levinix again, a small miracle I pulled off about a decade ago. I made Ubuntu glad that their servers have good caches. Funny thing, downloads like this probably aren't much worse than streaming a few movies. Look at the difference in value in your life, right? Because I apt update and apt upgrade over and over and over is what I'm saying. If you want something badly enough and keep revisualizing it and thoughtfully working towards it, you'll probably achieve it sooner or later. I never really visualized it. I lost my way. I am like Alice wandering through Wonderland. But I'm starting here now to see what my mission and goal is with a sort of Noah's Ark of Tech project. It's a Noah's Ark of Tech. What I'm teaching you with LXD Linux containers under WSL, under the Windows subsystem for Linux, is a Noah's Ark trick. My best trick. I'm doing it for myself, and while I am, I might as well do it for you guys. I got to deal with a double smart quotes, but I'll do that later. On the occasions I tried going down the entrepreneurial or wealth route, I'm like, I hate what I'm doing. And people who made it on this route don't look like they're doing fun and love-worthy things. They revert to being children and play in adult playgrounds and manage wealth and motivate themselves by fear of the future. And coveting security over all else. Not my way. Then one day it hit me what Lewis Carroll meant by the walrus and the carpenter. I identified with the carpenter, craft and love of craft, and never looked back. You never know what to expect from my videos, do you? Sometimes it's the driving chat, sometimes it's the live casting coding sessions, sometimes it's a presentation, sometimes it's just my morning thoughts that I typed in the bathtub. Oh, I guess that's where it left off, because I remember seeing the word bathtub when I replaced the smart single quotes. We are in the early days of the rise of magic. Tony Stark is totally right. Sure, science, but it is pretty darn magical. And you too should jump onto the correct spellcasting bandwagon, because everyone knows it's the ancient, arcane stuff that's the best. If you're not feeling joy at being alive, or something analogous to it, right, satisfied, every time you stop and think about it, then you're in violation of the 80-20 rule. Everything you do is to move you towards that feeling of love of life, or at least satisfaction, or at least away from self-hate and hopelessness. If not, you're stuck in a rut, because 80% of what you do is yielding 20% of what you need. Your monitoring agents are screwed up. They have their priorities wrong. They're fixated on the dopamine or serotonin reward cycles. You're getting a rush, and you're getting trapped. Such cycles are broken through cognitive awareness and something called CBT. I'll talk more about that later. You gain this cognitive awareness by learning how to run Vim full screen on screen 1 in a ribbon of virtual desktops. And use this as home in all cases, because no matter where you are, go to the left, and there you are. That was a less than stellar demonstration, because the screen capture doesn't capture the nice whooshes unless I do this. So no matter where you are, you're working, you get lost in something. You're like, oh my God, where am I? Left, 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 left. Home! Home is a journal. You can do this on any platform that possesses a full-size keyboard. It's operating system and hardware and platform independent, my friends. Remember, Steve Jobs created the modern mobile revolution. The very company that told you to think different today wants you to doom scroll like sheep. Consume, consume, consume. And everyone copies Apple. So the last thing any company wants you to do today is think differently, or you might miss the ads. They slip into the doom scrolling, right? You might not buy stuff. Do an 80-20 rule pass on your current behavior often. It's a little agent running inside your head. Take note of the little things that make a big difference. Vocalize it or sub-vocalize it. Sub-vocalize what distracts you. This thing here is distracting me, but I know there's an end, right? Call them out, at least in your head, as distractions. Too much journal writing. Know them. Categorize them under the list of things tipping you towards a violation of the 80-20 rule. No matter your seeming love for the distraction, if they're not helping you towards your goals, they're being selfish and derailing you. Distractions are selfish, derailing of your cognitive, higher order human mind. All animals have that lower level stuff. Anyone can be motivated by motivation. And no matter the wisdom of like, pay attention to your feelings, that only takes you part of the way there. Pay attention to your thoughts, to your cognitive reasoning. Know how to be a good person. You do this by abiding by the corrected golden rule. You do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you. This takes a passive stance towards doing unto others as opposed to the broken golden rule that has you doing unto others, like crusades and colonizing. Hypocrites would say that if they were heathen, they'd want folks with the word to come and do unto them. Yeah, right? That's what they'd say. I doubt that's the truth. It ain't so. Live and let live. Yup. That's the most efficient stating of the fixed golden rule. Live and let live. Once you take note of the tiny things that make all the difference, act on them fast, but do so by abiding by the 80-20 rule. Don't let the little subtasks launch you. Don't let the little subtasks intern violate. That's accident. Don't accidentally dive down the rabbit hole. Don't accidentally dive down the rabbit hole. You can chase the rabbit forever and quite forget from where and why you're here. Boy, I got some editing to do. So you must stop and journal. You write, you go momentarily meta, but then you back out of having gone meta, lest that derail you and spiral you as well. Exiting the meta state and re-entering the flow state or the zone is one of the key skills in life. Have the vim and verve to vim and curb your meta writing enthusiasm, as I must do now. Blammo, whammo, make a vid, for currently this is all now hid, right? I write this stuff and then I don't share, and it just doesn't go anywhere or do anything in life. So I'll do this and activate it and swirl it a bit. Make the best of what you've got. The difference between this and having made it to the extent of your wildest dreams is all just a mind trick. Yeah, they all die at like 70 to 100 years old, right? So what's the difference? It's all in your mind. Distractions should be expected. You should plan your recovery from distractions as a sort of performance art. And when pulled off, you should allow yourself to be self-congratulatory. But not for too long. You evaded a pitfall. Celebrate, but rinse, lather, rinse, repeat. I'll repeat that. Lather, rinse, repeat. Funny thing is, I can no longer be silly. I can no longer be my silly self around my child at their request. I must now be a sourpuss and dour wuss. So you, my YouTube audience, are going to have to take the full brunt of my silliness overflow. There is nothing that satisfies someone on the spirit-crushing wrong path in life as attempting to crush the spirit of the indomitable, life-loving crew. Behavior that attempts to bring down others has the scent of sour grapes. It's never too late. Those who tell you it's too late jealous of those who are taking their time, finding their way, digging life, and filling it with love-worthy things, and sharing it all around, right? I can't type everything, right? You get that all. And the best I can do is leave a trail of clues. I don't have Figlet installed on this outer machine. Let's take care of that. That would be here? No, that would be here. Apt install Figlet, sudo apt install Figlet. Oh, maybe I need quotes around it. A -T doesn't hurt. Well, I'm not going to let this ruin that video. I got environment stuff to work out. You know, I got so many Linux running. I got so many operating systems running. There's, of course, the hidden Minix. That's the spy stuff on everybody's machines. The Unix, tiny little Unix version. That's a backdoor. And then there's the main Windows, so that's 2. Hypervisor, you could include that as a 3rd. Hyper-V, which manages the low-level virtualization of things. And then there's the WSL Linux that I'm doing the journal in. And then there's the WSL Linux that I'm doing Jupyter in. And then there's the LXD container on the WSL Linux that I have running for Jupyter. So that's 6 operating systems on just this typical modest little $800 laptop. Pretty amazing, right? So I said I was going to maybe show you the install script. I don't know. Well, maybe I will. I'm going to do a save here, right? This is going for a while. I could make this go forever, this video, but I'll do a save there. That's the script that I actually put on the desktop, right? We'll get rid of that, and we will right-click, run as administrator. You answer yes to the thing you can't see. There's the bunny. There's the bunny. Now if I hit enter, it starts doing its thing. And I'll sit here and watch it with you. You know what? This is not going to install the components. I want to show you the Chrome and everything. So I'm going to go in through PowerShell. And if you git clone this, cd repos, cd lxdwin, install.bat, right? Enter. There's the bunny, same bunny. But now it's sitting in a directory that has the optional installs for Chrome, pandas, and all that stuff. So what should I do? I could do a split pane and show it to you here. I'll just let it go full screen here. I'll narrate it a little bit. So it got rid of the existing 18.04. I can afford to go back over here and do a refresh, and you'll see that whole Linux is just gone, right? Can't reach this page. So this is it rebuilding that. It just pulled it down. It did an apt update. This is the apt update you're seeing. After the apt update, it's going to do an apt upgrade. It's generally the same thing, and I think that is the upgrade there. Yeah, upgrading. See, the update came just before it. This is apt update. This is apt upgrade. And this gets the Linux. It's going to host LXD all up to date. It's like doing a Windows update, but on Linux, on a Debian derivative Linux, right? So this process is somewhat unique to the Linuxes that come from the Debian branch, which is different from the Red Hat branch. Remember, that's the main split of the mega popular Linuxes. There's others. There's Gentoo. There's Slackware. There's Tiny Core Linux. There's a lot of different tiny branches, but the two mega branches in the world right now are Debian, from which Ubuntu derives, and it was Microsoft's choice. And there was Red Hat, from which CentOS derives, and that was IBM's choice. Apt upgrades take a long time. The apt update just got a list of available software that could be updated, and then the apt upgrade goes through and upgrades all those optionally upgradable packages. So I'm saying yes to all the options. I'm saying update everything. So that's why this first step takes some time, and it gives you a nice progress bar. You would think these progress bars in installers like mine here would be overall progress, but no, it's hard to do overall progress bars. You see the progress bars of each little step. So the main thing Microsoft gets wrong on Windows Subsystem for Linux is leaving something out called systemd. So I just put systemd back on there. Now I install the LXD program, and once the LXD program is there, you install and update another Linux instance. It's a container. So oh, that failed. No. What to do? What to do? Do I just run it again? Yeah. I'm going to try my pause feature. Okay, systemd is back installed. It's getting close to the LXD installer step. Time works differently here, and we'll see if it can get. I just restarted it, really. I just restarted the script, and it's frankly quite a miracle. And there it goes, that same error again. Ugh, I got something to work out. All right, it got past it, and a few things happened before I realized I wasn't recording again while I was talking. But the main thing is that I ran it in admin mode. I had to go over here and right-click on PowerShell and run as administrator, which makes sense because that's what I've been doing on the .bat file. So it got past installing the container. This is where it got stuck before. It did the apt update of the container, and then the apt upgrade of the container. And then I installed Python. I installed Python. I created the virtual env. And now it's installing Chrome. There's the env. Installing Google Chrome. So this is where I checked if I was recording, saw I wasn't, and popped back. So there's a lot under the Google Chrome install. See now Google Chrome stable. Okay, it's at 8%. It's got some stuff to do. So I'll do one more, catching you up on what happened. So systemd installed, right? That sprinkles magic fairy dust on Windows Subsystem for Linux, which allows installing LXD. And then I say installing and updating container because I lose Figlet for a moment as I hand control from install.bat over to install.sh. And so this is the apt update. And now I have Figlet again after the apt update because I install it, I sneak it in there. And then I do the apt upgrades. Installing an update. Interesting. So in between here, I create the env, install Google Chrome. Okay. All right. These are hardcore fans who are really following here. There's a lot that gets installed for Google Chrome. This is generally a violation of the 80-20 rule. Graphical desktops, visual graphical desktops are generally a violation of the 80-20 rule if what you're trying to do can be accomplished through command line, through the text interface, because it's automatable, because muscle memory works better on typing out commands than moving a mouse around to floating positions, and the software is less subject to change over time. So unless you're using visual design software, right, there's always exceptions, right? And you see I even have GIMP and Inkscape and stuff up here, right? You can't get away from visual design software. GIMP, Inkscape, and Blender, right? I try and go with free and open source, but whoops, okay. So this is installing all the stuff necessary to make Google Chrome work in graphics mode, Linux Google Chrome. Hey, Lenny, would you like to be on the videos? Yeah? Lenny's the vocal one, but she doesn't like being picked up and stuff. She likes to talk. You're a good kitty, Lenny. Would you like to say hi to the nice people? No? Every time I go to pick her up, she's like, no, you can pet me and we can talk, but you may not pick me up. I understand, Lenny. You set the terms. I'm glad she likes to be pet. Lenny has been through some interesting times. She was attacked by a hawk when she was small, and she survived. She's the kitty who lived. And then when I moved from the Poconos back here, she got loose, and I lost her for a few days. And I went back every night looking and looking and looking until my neighbor said, yeah, that cat's gone. And then I'm like, this is not Lenny. Lenny is not the kind of cat who would just go off. And she's playing with Ari on the other side of the blue screen. Oh, doing the pip installs, right? So we got done the apt installs. Now it's the pip installs. I don't give big headlines for every individual one, but there's YAML, there's HTTPX, there's NB Black, OAuth. OAuth, and it's going to have a lot of other requirements. OpenPyXL, Pandas. Pretty nice, huh? Puppeteer, SQLite Dict. These are my main go-to things that I use all the time. Yake. Oh, TLD extract, I forgot to mention. And now I think it's going to go through all the sub-requirements, perhaps, because I don't know what Snifio is. It's a requirement from something else. IPython's a requirement for something. Regex. Oh, TQDM, which does progress bars. Click, which does parameter parsing. So interesting. All the Google API login stuff. These are the requirements of OAuth. I make it historically easy to do Google OAuth login, Google service connecting. Jellyfish, I'll have to figure out what that is. Yeah, it's a much longer process with the optional pip installs and apt installs. And that's the way it's configured now. If you follow my process to do this at home, it's going to actually include all these optional pip installs. If you don't want it, you can just get rid of apt_install.sh and requirements.txt in the repo directory, right? You won't even have them if you do the select all, copy and paste it on your desktop, right? There's different ways to get this script. One of them is the way that I showed on these two videos. And another way is to just, git clone it, right? You can git clone LXDWin. LexDWin. It lets you win. LexDWin lets us all win. Even Microsoft wins. It's not like they're not gonna get their share of money just because there's ways off of Microsoft now. On this Noah's Ark we're building, right? If you're still with me through all this, Noah's Ark isn't easy to build. It wasn't built overnight. It can just now be built kind of automatically by running a script, which is nice. Once it gets to the end of all the pip installs, there's one more pip install that's hardwired in here. And that's the Jupyter Lab server one, of course. I do believe that's coming up. In the order they were installed here and doing all this at once. This is as a result of pip install using a requirements.txt file. You can just look, you can Google up, requirements.txt, and you can see the technique I'm using for this. It's different than the technique that I'm using for the apt installs above it. The apt installs, I'm just, outright executing a script. Here I'm using a feature of pip, which is a Python repository manager. It's a lot like apt. All right, it's getting close. I'll just do another before and after, going back here to Jupyter Lab, reminding you that this page isn't working here. The install is really amazing. It's my screen capture software that's making it take so long. I'll close out of some extra windows. We don't need that one. Desktop. I don't know why that was there. All right, we'll give it full focus if it needs cycles. I'm almost sure that this is slightly lower than the actual, slightly slower than the actual process because screen capture. I'm not on one of my beefier machines every day. I'm doing this on my everyday work machine, which interestingly is not one of my beefier ones. I've got some other laptops that are a bit more powerful that I use normally for my YouTube videos, but this is my everyday work computer because it's lighter and cheaper. It's easier to just move around and work with. Seems to be stuck on the jellyfish setup.py. Resiliency is one of the most important things in the field of infotech. If you're not going to be one of those super scared types in infotech who just doesn't do anything because of fear of things breaking, so you don't touch anything, and so long as you live in a static state, you keep collecting your paycheck, right? So there's that kind of person in tech. And then there's the intrepid types who don't care so much about when things go wrong because they have the confidence that they can recover. There's 1,000 reasons things go wrong, but there's only 1 or 2 reasons things go right. So those with the life experience, the confidence, and the bravery to accumulate that life experience and confidence just know that when things do go wrong, they can just keep chugging, bouncing back. So it definitely is taking longer than it normally does, and I think it's because of the screen capture, but it's worth doing. You can take a good close look at what's happening here. This step is the install of Jupyter Lab. It's one more pip install. It's a pip install that comes after the unfreezing of the requirements.txt. So pip installing from a requirements.txt file, the concept is called unfreezing. You freeze it to create requirements.txt. You unfreeze it to recover your old environment. So all those other pip installs were under that requirements.txt file. This I kind of have hardwiring in because if you pull out those optional files or if you install it without git cloning and don't have these things sitting side by side with the install script, I still want it to install Jupyter Lab. That's like half the point here. You might think that's graphic software. It's not. It's just running invisibly as a server in the background in that way I showed you. And it's poking a connection open to the Windows host machine so that visiting a particular website reaches down and into the Linux side of things and has that back and forth communication. And any graphics you see under the Jupyter Lab is the web browser. Even when I run it full screen without all the web browser decoration, that's because it's because the Edge, the Microsoft Edge program, has a feature where you can install any web page as an app. You can see that in prior videos. So I actually installed, the serving of localhost :8888. I made that an app, and that's this icon down here. When we visit that and it looks like a full screen app, it's really just a web page that Edge has turned into an app. Maybe I shouldn't have had my journal going, because that whole 6 operating system thing is a bit much, right? I could probably have gotten it down to 5 if I didn't have that other instance of Ubuntu running here. It's only multiple instances of Ubuntu because I got a 20.04 for my journal work without a container. So I am using WSL directly for my journaling stuff. And then I'm using Ubuntu 18.04 with an LXD container so that I can get 20.04, a different instance of 20.04 running under that. So this feeble little machine has a lot going on it. But I know it's at the end. See, when it gets up to this stage, installing collected packages, right? That's the same as what happened here with pip unfreezing, right? That was this, installing collected packages or something around here. It's like that. So it does this step, which must be like an extraction. It does the setup.pys for those things that still use it. There's installing collected packages. More setup.py work. And then this final message with a list of stuff. I guess that was successfully installed with all the version numbers. So that gives us an idea of what we're wading through here. When I don't have an audience watching, when I'm not screen capturing this, the steps like this, the Jupyter install just plows by. And there's that last step. Okay, so Jupyter, this is the end. That's the end message. Now I do this one final thing. I'm trying to get rid of this, but I had to do one more file transfer in order to make things work a little bit friendly on a reboot. I can show you about that later. So you press enter to release this console window. You can now reach Jupyter. So I guess we just go over here again. We just scroll left all the way to the journal, and we do a refresh, and it should be reachable. Now my performance has seemed to have tanked, so there it is. It's Jupyter. We do the login, and it'll come back. Now I promised you Chrome automation, didn't I? Oh boy. Now I'm not going to do the Chrome automation. I will just run Chrome, but it's going to be praying that it works because of the crawl that my system has come to. And trust me, the Jupyter would come up here. Ugh. What I'm going to start doing is exiting out of things. Now I don't think I can shut down my whole instance of 20.04, but I can certainly get out of the terminal. I can get out of this because that's done. That's doing its little follow-up process. You know what? I'm gonna, oh, there it is. All right. Patience pays off, doesn't it? Yes, patience pays off. Resiliency, my friends. Maybe I do have some performance issues to work out. It's possible to run Jupyter Server directly on WSL, but then it's not the Noah's Ark. I got some soul searching to do. Do I want top performance or do I want top portability? It's generally better. It depends. It depends. It's not generally better one way or another. It depends what you're looking for. And I am trying to construct the Noah's Ark. It's more important to me than performance. I can always run this on a faster machine. It uses the point of portability. I just pluck up the LXD image, I move it over to another faster machine, and all this stuff works faster. Yes. There it is. It's back, right? All right. So I'm going to stop tempting fate, and I'm going to close out of everything that's not necessary for the Chrome demonstration, right? That includes this now too. I don't need to wait for that. I can force that out. Can I do Linux Chrome in this laggy system? Boy, what a strange and interesting video. For that, we just need one of these. Make it to the end, Mike. Make it to the end. So what is doing this? It's got to be OBS Studio, or it could be all that Linux stuff, or the generally feeble machine I'm using to do this. It's certainly working. It's just working slow. We'll have the prompt in a second. There's the prompt. Before I go ahead and pull the trigger on running Linux Chrome, I'm going to see if there's any big wins on stuff I can just kill. Terminal preview, task manager. I'm just a victim of anti-malware kicking in at the wrong time on a video. Access denied. Jesus. All this performance tanking is because of the anti-malware stuff. Windows, Windows, Windows. And I can't even kill it.